large paper. That means you
Episode number 4. There's no place like home. No ideas. Original. Shalon and the good brother, Mr. Rob.
What's going on, bro? How you been, man?
Same shit. So, what you been up to this week?
This week has been same as last. Not too much is going on. We got a kind of a routine on, you know, how the new life of a living is going on. Wifey's kind of enjoying being home because the kitchen is right there. So cooking dinner after work is like she's doing it in between time, and you know, it's easier for her. You know, myself, it's good to have them around.
Yo, I seen on Instagram you had a lobster mac and cheese burger.
Listen, brother. So, wife makes all this. She just makes shit. So she had made some lobster mac and cheese for her sister.
Nell's Kitchen.
All day, Nell's Kitchen. Made some lobster mac for her sister, because her sister's on the front line. She's a nurse. Mm-hmm. So she put something together for her. And she made up some turkey burgers. Just stuff we got in the refrigerator and stuff. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, babe, what you doing? She said, yo, I'm making. I said, why is that? That's a mashed lobster mac turkey. I said, what are you doing? And she put it all together, mounted it up. I said, you're like man versus food in here, son. I said, well, you eat that, go ahead. And she made these thick ass mama turkey burgers, son. And she ate it.
Them joints look good though.
She ate it. I think when you put A1 steak sauce, anything tastes good. I tell you, it make chicken taste like steak. For real. We had a good week though. How about yourself?
Did you slow week, but you listened to the new Straight Bangers album?
No,
Instrumental?
I didn't.
Just the vibe. They got some fire on
They
there.
got some joints on
Yeah.
there.
I hit up Rice and told Rice.
They always keep a little treats. They always got some treats, man.
Yeah, it's the whole joint is like
Pat Rice
laid back R&B jokes.
They got good. They come from old soul, man.
Yeah. I told him, I was like, yo, they got to get in contact with AZ, boy. Hey, you know AZ love right to that old smooth shit.
Listen, yo.
Yeah. And then I started
put it out in the air, man.
A new book, Sex, Money, Murder.
You did.
By Jonathan Green. Yeah, it's the talking about Sex, Money, Murder Soundview.
Okay.
Cats. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Pistol Pete and all that, and the history of how Sex, Money, and Murder was in the
How
Bronx.
is that?
Yo, so far I'm like probably a couple of chapters in. It's a good book, you know, for people who don't know about Sex, Money, Murder. There's like an urban legend. I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, but
this is all in the crack era, right?
Yeah.
80s, 90s.
Exactly. That Bobby Brown supposedly owed them bread for drugs, and they took Bobby Brown hostage.
I heard about that.
And Whitney Houston had to come through and pay to get him released.
Say what?
Yeah.
That's
and then
crazy.
how you call it, like Saturday, I already told the missus, looking forward to RZA vs. Premo.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. That right there for hip hop. I know 1 million people are probably gonna tune in. It's gonna blow the lid off of Instagram. Because we in our mind we already know both of their classics. You know they're gonna bust out with Cream. Premo's gonna probably bust out with DeWick and Mass Appeal. He's gonna bust out with 36 Chambers. So many different. The Triumph, like the way they have it set up is like, you play your shit, and then you just, boom, you just come in with the.
Who's your prediction? Who you going with?
Go with Premo, son.
Yo, a lot of people I'm talking to so far is like, yo, they going with Premo. I'm going with Premo too. Why you going with Premo?
You know why? Because Premo has the neck jerking boom bap. You had to be pretty much a producer's producer. Taking nothing away from RZA, but RZA's creativity isn't. It's not even. I shouldn't even use it, is it? Because this creativity is what it is. It's just a lot different from the boom bap we know Preem to be. We almost expect it coming from Gangstar or Preem. The whatever sound to have you like
straight hip hop.
Before a verse is even said, your neck is like
straight
this.
Hip-hop.
With RZA, you kind of waiting, and you're like, all right, who's gonna come first? Is it meth? Is it Ghost? You know, depending on the song, it's like certain songs they don't all rock well on keeping it real.
You know why I'm going with Premo, because I think similar to how Manny Fresh had a sound, I think RZA got a sound, and Premo got a sound too. But I think that Premo's joint may transcend, like when you start talking about the Wicks versus like some of the stuff that RZA did. Premo produced for so many different people that to me he could go through his catalog is vast.
But
RZA joints.
RZA got joints too, though.
He do.
Remember, all them albums had joints on them. Remember, and he did Cuban Links. He did Old Dirties. He did a lot of there's a lot of joints, man.
Nah, that's gonna be a dope battle.
Did Hellraiser, Sons of Man, if he even into any of those. He was producing for them guys.
Sons
and
of
he
Man
might
first
have,
album was crazy.
keeping the real producers produce for everybody. So he might have done some shit for somebody we don't
even
even know, but her know the song.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, he did that.
A lot of these battles though is coming out like that. That you're like, yo, wait a minute, this dude did that.
My thing is this now. After RZA and Premo, is he gonna top that?
I don't know how you top that.
That's what I'm saying. You come to us with this blockbuster.
I don't know how you top that.
How you gonna? Cause people want more. That's just the nature of the culture we in. You give me something, I want more of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's how I guess you monetize it or whatever after that. But still, how you top Premo?
Yeah.
You gotta come better now. Who's better than that?
I don't know how you top that. I mean, I was
unless that's hip hop.
It
Unless that's hip hop, and then they go to you. They might do some R&B shit. Cause I heard Bobby Valentino. And
man, I forget it. Yo, forget it. He said Bobby Valentino. Forget it. Yo, Bobby Valentino got 5 good songs.
Niggas
I like.
Going and they vote. They just going and they.
Yo,
oh my god, they going and they crates.
Bobby Valentino gonna have a Yoda Live and be like 6 viewers.
Son,
I'm not even checking for Bobby Valentino.
Nah, I ain't checking for Bobby
All right,
Valentino.
so for There's No Place Like Home, we're gonna talk about the COVID-19 release for inmates. We're going to talk about how come people of color have a higher mortality rate, COVID-19. And then lastly, why people can't just stay the fuck home.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So,
but it's two folks. I was talking to my man today. On top of people just being arrogant and just saying, you know what, fuck the government. They tired of running all the game. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. You got to remember, city living is social living.
mm-hmm.
People don't sit in the house in cities. People are out and about. People are on. Even if you just going to the store. When you go in the store, you stop. You see someone. You're in a conversation. Then you stop. And you go to another store. You see somebody else. Before you go upstairs, you done met 4 or 5 people. Shook about 2 or 3 hands. Said what's up to about 4 or 5 people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then you went in the house.
Yeah.
All that is dead. It's not a person on the corners. No barbershops open.
That's why how you call it when.
And people don't like.
At alarming rate.
And people do not like change.
Yeah. You see, number one informant, Tekashi 6ix9ine,
Fucking rat.
got released.
He's a rat.
And on social media, there's a lot of public outcry for release of
It's
inmates from facilities. And, how you call it, it's to me, I look at it and I'm like, prison to begin with is deplorable conditions. So given now with this magnitude of what's going on.
Yeah, and the deplorable conditions like hitting prison, Chicago being one of the worst hit, where, that dense living, that city living, you know what I'm saying? Everyone's on top of each other. We know what it is to live in the projects. Them people on top of each other, son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't get away from, it's 9 apartments on 1 floor, but you got 30 floors. And that's one building amongst 12 buildings.
Yeah.
All in 1 block radius.
You see all the other people threw their hat in the ring. Bill Cosby, Martin Shkreli, the dude who took the HIV drug, up the price. Harvey Weinstein threw his hat in the ring. Michael Cohen, everybody trying to get the COVID stimulus package to be like, I need to be out.
Bernie Madoff was like, me try my head. They denied the nigga twice. Nah, son, you try to steal $60 billion from niggas.
Yo, so Tekashi got out on the strength of what, you think, just because his sentence was already coming to an end? Well, he did have one that was classified as a pre-existing condition.
Which is asthma. Yeah. You know what I mean? And being because of how severe and serious it is, I guess the judges, the law had to look at it seriously. Like, all right, we don't want this high profile of an individual or case for this guy to die on our watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if we send a nigga home with an ankle bracelet, lock the nigga in his house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The other thing is like, this dude might have more information. We need him. We need him alive.
Well, he's gonna be that for the rest of his life.
Oh, yo, here's R. Kelly.
He's gonna
tried to get out too.
Yeah, they shut him down. Nah, son, keep your penis in your pants.
All the sex, the sexual predators, all of them.
They want to slide out. They try to slide out. Yo, COVID ain't safe in here, Your Honor. Yo, I can't. Yo, Your Honor, come on, man.
Yeah,
Niggas, they tried it. Listen, it's part of the law. If someone else can get over it, try your hand.
So.
It's usually how your inmates, they go into the law library, find a case that works for somebody else.
A loophole?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah.
Yo, look. Cosby blind. He ain't got no respiratory issues. But that's fucked up.
Yo, but you think about it, like hopefully they get to the point though where like some of these lower level offenses, and I'm all for thinking that this may change how we do business. But check this out: for these lower level offenses, the shit that we was locking people up for before, you know, and wasting taxpayer dollars and stuff like that, doesn't really warrant somebody being held on an island for months and months at a time for charges that, how you call it,
this brings to light a lot of situations that people are looking over. It's not just the health situation. You get to look at how police do line somebody up. You know what I'm saying? And send them through the system and go through all that. Everything is being scrutinized because who they arresting?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody getting arrested except for the dummies that's out there now. Who ain't supposed to be out there, but they're not breaking any crimes. They're just running on mass transit from one end to the end for joyride. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But back to the inmate situation. These guys, the ones that are really in jail, you already know the deplorable conditions that they're living in. So when you got a virus running through certain prisons like that, come on, man. Especially in them city prisons. I don't think that's happening anywhere in the prisons that are up in the hills and the valleys because they're out in the mountains. They get fresh air. It's them condensed areas like New York, like Chicago, but most of the living is in the city. And if you're city living, you're apartment living. You're not living in a rural area where we got, see how the wind is blowing shit around out here? Mm-hmm. You don't have that. You have that in New York, but you don't have the sunlight necessary. Some of just the natural flow of air going through there because you got so many trucks, you got so much pollution. New York is a nasty place, man. Yeah. So any germ, I mean, you gotta be careful catching hepatitis C out that bitch. Just walking past motherfuckers, man. Nah, for real. You really gotta keep your head on swivel. We should all have been wearing probably gloves and masks years ago. Yeah.
I mean, you know, that raises another issue to me because after this, because they do say that the curve is flattening. When they open outside back up, you know people gonna be out there wild and crazy and forget about everything that we had to endure.
They still want to instill social distancing. So if you do have a restaurant, you're gonna only have a number of participants in your restaurant. They can't overflow. Remember, in every restaurant, every building, there's always a occupancy. Yeah. They gonna put niggas to the test. You got 36, you're supposed to have 35, that's a fine. That's it. And that's it. And you got people in line, all outside, probably in the streets, waiting to get into places because you can only have 2 people in the store. There's gonna be 3 in the coffee shop. Yeah. And people gonna take their fucking time. They ain't gonna rush. They gonna sit their ass there, open up their laptop, because we got free Wi-Fi and Starbucks, and I ain't moving.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, though, what's the criteria that determines who gets released as an inmate. Because, of course, celebrity dudes, because they have good attorneys, the celebrity attorneys is going to go to bat for them. But there's regular people in there that's suffering from the conditions in prison that probably, maybe towards the end of their sentence. Now, to me, I'm thinking, like, if a dude got, 25 years on a sentence and they saying, like, yo, I need to get out because it's deplorable conditions, that's a little bit different to try to finagle than somebody who like, yo, I got 6 months left.
For 25 years, you done lived in there with worse shit than COVID-19. Try to get it.
But yo, I don't knock their hustle for throwing their hat in the ring,
like I'm saying. That's the reason why they go to law library. Yeah. They find the loophole, and if it worked for them, you plead your case. And I guess if the cases sound similar to the DA or the prosecutors and the judge make a determination, well, you got a point. Let him out.
Yeah. But it's just, to me, it's just like, there seems to not be a criteria about which they're allowing people out unless you're a celebrity. To me, the criteria seems like you got to be a celebrity and you got to be towards the end of your
Criteria is you got
sentence.
paper.
Yeah.
And apparently, even those who got paper, they ain't let out. So you can't just pull it because this dude pulled it. He had a pre-existing condition.
I mean, but the people
None of these guys had pre-existing conditions when they went in.
the people who they didn't let out, that celebrity though, like the public outcry. Could you imagine if they let R. Kelly out? Yo, R. Kelly got 2 fucking documentaries right now on Lifetime for his child molestation
protesters
shit.
out there like fuck Corona.
Yeah.
Jail R. Kelly.
Yeah, like R. Kelly. I mean, he tried it though. R. Kelly tried it. Like I said, Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, all them dudes tried to get out on the strength of it. Harvey Weinstein, when they took him in, when they first took him in, he had to have all kind of surgeries and all this shit or whatever. I don't think he thought that he was gonna get hit.
What's
with
he
that,
dying
with that
from?
sentence.
What's he rotting from? If something ain't right.
Guilty.
He walk around like he got gout. Like you see how he walk? He walk on his heels like he can't touch the balls of his feet.
But I'm gonna fuck you up. When he got convicted, he threw the walker to the side. Yo, when he got convicted, he threw the walker to the side and walked right out.
It's all a show, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's in a fucking show, man.
Yeah. But what's not a show and what they talking about, which I appreciate now coming out, is that any channel you turn to that covers the news and you see Cuomo on TV, I hear Ned Lamont on the radio, everybody's talking about the high mortality rate for people of color with the COVID-19. And I pulled some stats for folks just so you can get a sense of what it's really about. So we live in Connecticut, both of us,
Right.
live in Connecticut, but from the Bronx. Right now, Hispanics in New York City is leading in terms of fatalities. Blacks are second, but blacks are number 1 overall in New York State, across the board in New York State. By borough, Brooklyn, number 1. Brooklyn has, in terms of individuals, 1,599, and I pulled this data on the 8th. Number 2 is Queens, 1,650. Number 3 is the Bronx, 1,108. Number 4 is Manhattan, 674. And then number 5 is Staten Island with 249. And if you wanted the Westchester in there, Westchester's 359.
But I tell you this. The mortality rate is because, although it might be 8 million people in New York, there's another 8 million that ain't here legally. Keeping it real. Spanish and Latino people, as I know, we're communion people. We live with big families.
Yep.
So that might be the reason why their numbers are high. And like I say, New York living is dense living. We're living on top of each other. Same thing for the high numbers for us. When you talk about disproportionate, we're living in areas that have been dilapidated for centuries, B. I mean, they cover it, they make some new adjustments, they might bring this gentrification to make certain areas look better. But at the end of the day, the socioeconomic status of certain things depends on people's income and education and where you live and your background and what school you went to. All those play a part for those who are trying to make a living and then get subjected to living in areas which they can afford and only can afford.
Mm-hmm.
So those areas are multiplied by other people that got the same mentality.
Yeah.
And those are areas that are hit hard. When you talk about hit hard, let's look at the food deserts in these same areas. Some of these areas don't have a working supermarket. All they have is bodegas. And if you go on a bodega, what you see in the case, 1 egg, 1 tomato, and a stick of butter. And you living in a neighborhood, and you're on the corner of whatever project that is. So no one's getting adequate food. That's the reason why heart disease and high blood pressure go through the roof. On top of the PTSD we talked about, we're already living in fight or flight living in certain neighborhoods. We get used to it, but it doesn't relinquish the flag. If you hear a car screech, you're thinking someone got hit. If you hear a gunshot go off, you're thinking someone got shot.
Any loud noise, you're thinking it's a gunshot.
And your comfort food is to go upstairs and eat a large Breyers ice cream and banana fucking donuts. We don't have good practices. health-wise. You know what I'm saying? We don't practice eating. Like I told you in our last episode, we talked about our people don't drink enough water, and they don't breathe right. So hypertension, them numbers is going to shoot throughout the roof. In my estimation, those who created this massacre that happened knew that would be the issue.
These are the pre-existing conditions that they have, and these all sound very familiar to people of color: hypertension, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, coronary artery disease, dementia, COPD, cancer, congestive heart failure. And they saying that for males predominantly get impacted more, males 75 and older. Now, my thing with the numbers,
and that's because men don't go to the doctor much as women.
Fact, yeah. My thing, though, is that I think that I put value in stats, but I also think stats you could cook the book on stats. And I think one of the things that's happening also in terms of the numbers,
especially if the numbers are high.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
High.
Like a lot of funding is going to come down as a result of this. So you see now, every time you turn on the news, open the newspaper, and somebody passed away, they like, yo, he passed away because of COVID-19. And I don't know if every death is necessarily related to COVID-19. So check this out: if you're 105 years old and you pass away, because of pneumonia, you know that they putting on a COVID-19 or whatever. You know how you call it, like. It's almost like keeping us in a state of fear.
Wanting to keep you in a state of fear. So whatever agenda is attached to that state, we can pull it off. And we can just say, this supports our agenda as to why we want to do these things. Like I just listened to the little lineage of Bill Gates and his pops and his mom. His pops worked for Planned Parenthood. The only thing about Planned Parenthood and where Planned Parenthood started from, where it came from, their idea of depopulating the planet was always a part of their agenda. From years ago, we're talking about early 1400s, 1300s. They had to have known that the way people reproduce and people is going to grow. You know what I'm saying? And in order to, just a selfish way of saying, in order to keep shit for ourselves, we're going to have to eliminate certain people. And they know the lifestyle and the condition ethnic people are in because of how they eat and what they're able to eat, what they can afford to eat. And they know that they're in these areas. It's no reason, it's no mistake why it's hitting Chicago the way it hit Louisiana crazy.
Yeah. That's the other thing I was going to say is like the socioeconomic status. So you think about it, we're more susceptible, people of color, more susceptible to getting COVID-19 because we're on the front line and we're considered like the frontline workers. So, when you start talking about people who work in grocery stores, people who may be the nurses at these places, people that may drive the bus or the train, like, the level of exposure and risk, and the risk associated with it is far more than our white counterparts because they may not necessarily have to be out there. And then when you start talking about the density also of it, like if I'm living in the projects, right, and there's 15 buildings in the projects and there's 10 apartments on each floor, and then I have 5 or 6 people living with me, and if one person contracts it, then the whole family got it. Then the people on the floor got it. Then the building got it. And
believe
it's
it
just
or not,
spreading like wildfire.
Believe it or not, Caucasians got a code when they speak to each other, and they code was if something is real detriment, they're talking to one another. Stay home. Let the others do what they do. Trust and believe. But we don't have a code like that. Our code is survival, and if our back is up against the wall, we're running through fire to get to the other side, whether it's money, whatever's passionate that got us out there, we're doing it. And they know that in the mind. They know that that's the mentality of those people living in these urban density areas. They know we're scrambling. They know we're destitute or desperate. Some of us, not all of us, because some of us live in these areas, and to be honest with you, miraculously, They love being in these areas. These are their homes. This is where they don't see nothing further than 167th and 10th or somewhere. They don't see nothing further than that. They've been living
that's
there.
my hood.
My mother just brought light to me is that my cousin is still living in the apartment in Jackson Avenue that my great aunt had when they moved up here from Tennessee. And we talked about.
I mean, yo, you know that shit generational. People pass down apartment for years and years.
I'm glad you used the word generational. So you got this epidemic with people with high blood pressure, all them different things you're saying, come from a generation
too. Yeah.
From seeing our parents or just living a life and say, well, I gotta call mom because mom made them greens like that. I gotta make them how how you made them greens? Well, I got pig ear in there.
And I put a pound of Lowry's.
I put this in there and the salt. You really got to cook it for 3 or 4 hours. Trust me.
Yeah.
And you live them traditions, but you don't change them, and then you pass them on to your seeds.
Yeah.
They go up to make a sandwich the same way Grandpa made a sandwich.
Yeah.
So
put that on top of already being genetically predisposed to it.
So you got someone like Bill Gates that knows that humans are creatures of habit and pattern, and the habit and pattern of these urban density areas or our hoods or our cities are at its worst. Even if people think they're living good, people are not eating right, they're not living right. We have food deserts, we got all these things going up against us. We still push forward, but when something like this hit, you see what happens. You got putting people in potter's fields. So.
Yeah. Think about even from when we start talking about socioeconomic, but also the culture aspect of it as well, right? So for our culture, you think about it, people probably have like 5, 6 people living in one home. You got mad people living in the house. I think about people I used to live next door to that they would have family come from other countries and family who came from other countries.
But I'll be honest with you.
You got 15 people in a 2-bedroom apartment.
Well, I was never that big, but every house I went to had almost a full-size family. Although I grew up, I just grew up in a period where it was nothing but single moms. Even if moms had a boyfriend or Mr. Johnny came around, it was still a full house. You know what I'm saying? People have 4 houses. You know what I mean? We used to live in communal like that. But I think that's what's killing us now.
That to me is cultural.
That's cultural. That's who we are.
Yeah, that to me is cultural.
Yes, sir.
And then I think that high caller, Queens, to me, Queens numbers are probably high because in Queens there's like a huge influx immigrant population that come into Queens, and people are taking care of their own. So you think about it, they come in, we need a place to live.
And they don't know America's system like people that from here know America's system.
And how to finesse it and get their own place.
That's what I'm saying.
Or they may not have the luxury of doing it.
I tell people all the time, I know this game. I also know my country. I know what my country is good for, and I know what they up to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I appreciate, some of the things that I do know I've come across or just been in the company of people that say, yo, watch out for this. When stuff like this happens, there's pawns and chess pieces being moved. And I gotta tell you, all of this has been happening for the last 20 years. It's gonna keep happening because no one has addressed the monkey in the room. What the fuck hit the Pentagon? And stuff like that. How did them buildings come down? How was you able to kill almost 4,000 people and no one get arrested?
Yeah. That's a question they ain't never trying to answer.
But then you throw up just another building, less than 3 months, another building goes right back up. Yeah. And so you got us worshiping images and just this pronounced majesty of you being able to do these things, but there's people that lost their lives. You did that for the purpose of what? And then come to find out prior to the day all that shit happened, somebody stole shitloads of money. It's always finagling the game. So even with this, you had all this going on right before Thanksgiving and Christmas. They wasn't shutting down Black Friday the way people like to shop online. And now they wasn't gonna say stop, you can't go to the mall, COVID-19. No, they waited till fucking Valentine's Day got through. Went through New Year's, even rest in peace, Kobe's death didn't even stop nobody. So niggas are still out there. breathing on everybody,
Yo, we can't-
and all of
we
a
can't
sudden,
cancel Christmas.
and all of a sudden, 45 was like, "Oh, I been knew I had." Nigga.
Yo, so talk about socioeconomic status. I pulled up some information on Connecticut. So over the last 5 days, the governor of Connecticut, Ned Lamont, said the state recorded about 90 new coronavirus-related hospitalizations a day. That's an improvement from the previous week where we were about 100 daily hospitalizations. So we went from hospitalizing
Now
100
10
people a day
to 90.
to 90 a week. What's Connecticut doing that that New York City is not doing?
Bro, I'm gonna tell you this. I hate to say it, but from a socio-economic perspective, income, occupation, work history, all of that plays a part.
Exactly.
If you know Danbury, Bethel, Brookhaven, the average salary, my nigga, ain't no dummies living up here, son. But you're just keeping it real. Ain't no dummies living up here. There's sound, this is a sound community. If you get hit with an epidemic, fine. Let's get a solution for it. Let's stick to it. You look, when you go out, people aren't as busy and out and about as they used to. People are actually staying home. People are really listening and adjusting to what, the authorities are saying.
But it's just because it's a population up here that doesn't have to based on their socioeconomic status.
They don't have to, but there's also a population up here that go to and fro from New York too.
Mm-hmm.
Large
and
population.
That's how this shit got up here.
And I'm believing that's the only way it's got here. Mm-hmm. It started with that one nurse from Norwalk coming up to Danbury Hospital, and then after that, it just went wildfire. Yeah. So it's crazy. I think in this time, it's tough to say, but you know why geographically certain areas are populated with what they're populated and who they're populated are. For reasons of your social economic status, your salary. So to live up here, you gotta be working a pretty decent job that's paying you over maybe 60, 70 grand, okay, and up, to either own a home or to rent. I mean, renting up here is not like New York, but it ain't cheap.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't have a big demographic when you're talking about mass transportation. So people still find their way over to Brewster or find their way right to Danbury to take the Metro North end of town. So it's a lot of disparities, and we're part of the tri-state. We just ain't as fucked up as Jersey.
There's I was reading online also. So the last thing that people said is coming out as a reason why people of color have been hardest hit by COVID-19 is because the acceptance of misinformation. Now, for a long time, I heard a lot of people going around saying black people can't get COVID-19. Black people, that was the thing. Black people can't get COVID-19. A tiger in the Bronx Zoo could get it, but black people can't get COVID-19.
I might be a little ignorant. I might have had my hand in that for a second. Because I was saying to people, this is a virus. And what I've learned from Dr. Sebi is that in a highly alkaline body, pretty much nothing can live. Mm-hmm. But that means you have to be so oxygenated. That means you have to have oxygen in there. And the fluid in your body got to be right. In order to produce white blood cells, to do the job, to get rid of viruses and germs, you got to be on your game. But not everybody lives like that, sir.
But so when it first started out, it wasn't highly reported that people of color was catching COVID-19. So I don't know if people actually was like, yo, as black people or Latinos, we immune to this shit, and actually went out and exposed themselves to it.
Even with the ignorance, B. That's the ignorance, man.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And like I said, people who don't know that they don't know are the ones that's most affected because they're oblivious. And like I said, we have a high rate of immigrants and people who come here who don't speak English, who don't know, you know what I'm saying? But they know They know the language of commerce and money. They know how to make a dollar.
Funny
But
how
how do you
speak
tell
that.
someone, yo, you might be sick, cover your mouth, or whatever the case, and you got it, whether they're Haitian, whether they're Dominican, whether they're from any of the four corners of the planet. You know what I'm saying? You got people from Europe who come here and don't know English or nothing like that.
You know what's another thing though that people are saying also, that there's been, for people of color, an easy acceptance on home remedies as a cure. And I think that goes back to culture as well. As a culture, you know, we rely on home remedies. Home remedies have gotten us through some difficult times. I don't know what the correlation is between acceptance of home remedies versus positive tests. Like, I can see home remedies being in conjunction with fatalities, is saying like, yo, all right, I know I got COVID, I'm gonna treat COVID by way of using these home remedies, and then if the home remedy doesn't work, a person passing away. But I don't know if how a home remedy would impact you, because what are we all doing now? We saying
allopathically, meaning, I mean, cut your wisdom, but allopathically, meaning medicinal wisdom, doctors are taught to manage and suppress a situation, not cure it. Holistic is pure cure. So there's no money in curing something if I could just manage it, meaning swing around, watch you sweat a couple of times.
Sell you the pill.
Gives you a pill and it go down. Then it come back up 3 weeks later or every 2 weeks, so you gotta keep taking it 2 hours a day. That's where the game is, to string you along. Now if I made a concoction for you that had mulberry, burdock root, elderberry, and some garlic, and tell you go sit your ass down and go watch a movie and let it just work your system, you might have to poop. You know what I'm saying? Because from an herbal standpoint, what they used to do back in the days, they would give you laxative or purgative herbs to make the shit. They thought it would run through your system, so you just shit it out until they find out. Well, damn, we need to think about the area in which the anatomy of the human body is affected. And you got to remember, the plant life been here before human life, so we mirror them. We mirror nature. So all that chlorophyll, all the iron, all the vitamins you ever need come from plant life, not from a pill. It ain't coming from your one source vitamin. It's just that we don't know that part about nature. We don't know in what abundance did you take enough of it for us to have enough of it so we can sustain a day, because we're not agriculturally inclined.
You talking about like, but from like a proactive standpoint, right? Before we even
but just be inclined to knowing that. That's why I'm taking this herbal class, because I remember a time where I had a matriarch, was my great grandmother. And she had 3 daughters. It was my grand aunt, my grandmother, and my other grand aunt. And that was pretty much the hierarchy in my family. It was no male hierarchy. It was them. But my great grandmother, coming from Tennessee and working on a reservation back in the early Tennessee days, she knew how to garden. We didn't go to Top Tomato and Pathmark for groceries. We went to her house. And each 3 of them families went to our house. We got tomatoes, we got cucumbers, we got string beans, we got onions. We got the basic shit that we need that would be on the table in less than a couple of hours. And we would do that every Saturday. But that was their tradition of living, because they come from sharecropping and doing that type of stuff that, we couldn't go. There were supermarkets we couldn't go to. It was all white supermarkets. So we had to go on the back and grow your
own shit. That shit's embedded in you.
So now, as a culture, we really have to adopt it, because the culture we've adopted is Europeanism. We know all the fashions. We know every fucking sneaker that ever came out, every boot, every pair of jeans. Forget about it. We know every piece of clothing. Every superstar wore, every sport athlete wore. We know all of the shit. But ask us, do we know the difference between a tomato and a fucking orange?
You fucked up. You don't know the difference between a
tomato and an orange. And some people be like, but I don't.
Yeah.
Let alone do they even eat the shit.
Yeah.
Because people are habit and pattern. People like going to mommy's store for the sandwich, or going to Mr. Kim for the chicken and broccoli, or going to Tony's for the pizza.
That should a matter of convenience too. Like people become
$1.
conditioned. Like
They're
like,
$1.50.
But that's
all I got is $2.
That shit, that's $1.50. It's $1.50 for a reason. It's $1.
We're not giving a reason. We think about right now. I'm hungry right now.
Yeah.
That's all I can afford right now.
Yeah. So why can't I have my own theory on this on why people can't stay home, right?
That shit.
And how you call it? Like, yo, you see, like, there's this public outcry, like, just stay home, just stay home. Now, as a person who grew up in the Bronx, you know, I lived at many different places in the Bronx, and probably the biggest apartment that I've lived in the Bronx was probably maybe like 1,200 square feet, right? I remember living with how you call it, my mom, my dad, my two brothers, 5 of us in an apartment. Mm-hmm. You know, that's maybe 1,000, like I said, 1,200 square feet. In Connecticut, my house here is probably like close to 5,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. To me, it's very different asking somebody to stay home in 500 square feet versus 5,000 square feet, right? Like, yo, the experience. So if you in a house where all of y'all is on top of each other,
dense living,
yeah,
urban density. We used to living like sardines, but if you didn't want to be around a nigga, where would you go? Outside.
Yeah. But so now that's what I'm saying. So to tell people automatically, like, yo, just stay home. Stay home, stay home.
You stay home for what?
Now, we were saying earlier, too, think about it, like, there's a huge immigrant population in Queens, and they telling people to stay home. So if you in 1,000 square feet, and it's 15 people in the house.
Are we sure all the people know what stay home mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other subject, yo. But yeah,
I mean, I'm sure someone was probably having to communicate to them, but those who are communicating, are they adhering to the stay at home?
Yeah.
Because they're probably trying to finagle the system too. Let me get what I can get out of it. Because in a time like this, there's really no supervision. My man that works at MTA said there's a dude that gets on the number 12, and he rides from Fordham to Pelham to ride back to Fordham.
Yeah.
Because it's free.
Yeah, back and forth.
He's doing absolutely nothing. He's sitting in the back and he's taking a joyride. It's like,
before all this started, we had hired a new accountant. We're in the process of hiring a new accountant. So we called up and engaged her, like, all right, you know, just want to check in to make sure we still.
I want to talk to you about accounting. I'm going to talk to you about accounting and a lawyer, but that's later on.
So we just want to check in, make sure, you know, you're still interested in the job. And she like, yeah, you know, I'm still interested in the job. She's currently working in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And she takes the train every day from the Bronx to Brooklyn. So I heard Tanya talking to her about her train ride experience. She was like, yo, the train is packed. Jam-packed. And she was like, it's jam-packed because they cut down on the amount of subway cars that they actually have.
Right.
But think about it. The other part around it, and this is where I think inherently, like, sort of like this racism comes into play. There's people who can't afford to stay home. Right? Like, if you got to pay your rent and your landlord is relying on getting that bread because that's how they make ends meet, you may not be able to stay home. Like, the direct care workers that's going out working directly with how you call it, like people in the hospital, people who got to drive the bus and all that shit, they don't have the luxury of staying home because they frontline responders.
My sister's-in-law, she's a nurse at Montefiore, my nigga. Jacoby, all that shit, son. So she's
in the thick of that shit, right?
She's on the front line, man, and there has to be some level of anxiety knowing you're dealing with the people that you're watching pass away right in front of your eyes, and to know that all that you're doing it for, in your mind, you think you're doing it because it's flu symptoms and it's pneumonia. In some cases, they're not dying from that. And that's the puzzling piece. So here it is, you're trying to save someone. They're probably looking at you like, please save me. I'm trying, but I'm not servicing what I think is the flu.
Yeah.
Something else is dying. People are, like I think Rice was talking about, people are bleeding, people are hemorrhaging. There's something going on internal, and that just begs me to think that in the case of these, infirm situations of CPOD and heart disease and all that, what I know about hypertension is that your blood vessels are very weak, and if you're putting pressure,
additional stress
on with the anxiety and heart palpitation, and you're thinking, you can just have an aneurysm. All sorts of things can happen in regards to that. So it may not look like a flu, and it turn out into something else because people just want to go to the hospital to get well. Yeah. Part of hospital is the word hospice. Yeah. And hospice is a place where people
go to check out.
That's it.
But and
a lot of people have a very firm phobia. I know a girl in Baltimore. She said, I'm never going to the hospital. My mother died in the hospital. Yeah. So I'm like, but what happens if you hurt your foot? Oh well.
My mom's friend got COVID-19 from the hospital. Germ infested, going to the emergency room in there.
And you're confined in these buildings that's not like old school where there was a little window you can crack open. That's when people was able to smoke.
Everything is central air.
Everyone was able to smoke in a building, just open a window. We don't have that anymore, so you're trapped in that, and that's why people who work in office buildings have not gone. Janelle is not going back to work till April 30th now.
Right now, they probably saying that.
Yeah, soon it's gonna be May 2nd.
Yeah, right now they're saying that. But I have to say, like, I'm blessed and fortunate enough in life where, like, I can't stay home. But I have to say, like, I think 20 years ago, how you call it? I don't know if I would have been able to stay home. I would have probably been like, shit, I got my wife, I got my children, I got a high call, and I got to go out there, I got to make money, I got to pay my rent, I got to put food in the fridge, I got all this other shit I got to do.
I'd have been twisted because 20 years ago, around now, I had just moved to Maryland April 1st.
And you was probably on the grind, hustling, right?
That's the part I was telling you. I was going down to Baltimore Harbor, sitting there saying, look, I can work down here. But having the freedom, just like now, to openly, freely think about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. In a situation like this, you ain't got no time to plan and plot. Yeah. Unless you've the quote unquote save for a rainy day, or just have things set up to where you don't have to scramble like most.
Yeah. Or check it out. Or if you gotta think about it, if you have an office job, you more inclined with people like you can work from home. If you are direct to consumer, how the hell you working from home?
You can't.
Yeah.
So anybody got to do retail or their own retail? If you're customer facing, you're home. You're not dealing with the customer.
Yeah, that shit is high quality. So that's what I'm saying.
My daughter's lucky because, with her working with Coach, she's able to take phone orders still.
Nice.
So that gives her
some income. Yeah, that's nice.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
she was a big earner for Coach, but not everyone has that leverage.
Yeah.
So now, I think about the people when you talk about sports. I think about everybody that's selling hot dogs and popcorn.
Out of a job, and you see they said as a result of this, AMC is about to go out of business. Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you, probably like 5 years.
Somebody gonna buy that
like
shit.
5 years. Ain't nobody want it. 5 years ago, AMC sent me like a prospectus saying if I want to invest in AMC. And I read it, and in the prospectus, they had like all the shit that they felt was a threat for them. The number one shit they had as a threat was Netflix. So you think about it now, all the movies that's going to theater is going straight to on demand in the house. Yeah. If I could pay you $25 to watch the movie in the house with everybody in the house versus the cost of how much it costs, it was like $12, $15. If you want to get surround sound, $15 per person. It's a wrap for AMC.
AMC, the only way they be able to come back is if they bring the circus.
And it's a wrap for them. It's just not. It's not a lucrative business. Movie? Now that you get the movie on the screen in your house, what? Why would I go to the theater? especially in an environment where people was like, "Yo, it's germ infested."
The plug for movies now is the dinner and the movie thing.
Dining theater, because it's a different experience.
It's a different experience, and there's not as many people in the movie in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
The one I went to down in Bethesda, Maryland, it had to been like 20 seats in it, 20, 25 seats. But the 2 seats that you were sitting with, you and the person you came with, was so exclusive, and to the side, they had the recliner chair, had the pull-out tables.
Yeah.
You had no room to be around nobody else. Now, that is an alternative, but who's going to turn and pay $30, $40
when you could watch it in your house, have the same
and
shit,
wifey
considerably
cook
cheaper.
and cook some fucking crabs?
Considerably cheaper. Yo, let's do this. Let's take some calls to find out from people why is it that folks can't just stay home.
Let's see what's up.
All right. Yo, so we got my cousin Zane from Maryland on the line. Zane, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up, cuz?
What's up, Zane?
What's up, Rob? What's up, man? Brother Rob?
Yes, I'm good, brother. I'm good. What part of Maryland you from, man? Or where you at?
I'm in College Park right now. That's where the University of Maryland is at.
Yes, sir. The Terps, huh?
They transitioned to the Big Ten now, right?
That's right, man. Maryland's a good state, man. It took care of me for 17 years. I lived in Baltimore and Owens Mills for about 17 years, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got people up at Owens Mills.
Yeah, Owens Mills is a nice area, son. Real nice area.
Yo, so down in Maryland, people staying home. You see people staying in the house.
It's kind of mixed, cause I tell you what, for the past 2.5 weeks, they have been, staying in the house a lot more.
Right.
The only places within the past, I say, week now that people go through frequently, of course, is like a CVS or a Walgreens, the supermarkets. What else? And that's about it, man. Like the bars, everything is shut down, of course.
I mean, but everywhere you go, everything's supposedly shut down. You see people out in the street just like chilling at the parks in the hood, though.
It's mixed. Sometimes it'll be some people there at the basketball court, but now, 3 days ago, they wound up cutting the net.
Yeah, but they took the rims down.
Taking down the rims.
They doing that in the Bronx now, man. Taking all the rims down.
Yep. So from your observation, what would you say? Why do you think is the reason that people won't stay home?
The reason why people won't stay home, I think in our mind that people, there's a large majority of people that still to this day don't think that it's really real with this coronavirus stuff.
Right.
Like you got a lot of conspiracy theorists out there.
Yes, sir.
Which I was one. Well, hey, can I cuss?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you could go.
Yeah, do your thing, bro.
Oh, okay. 20 years ago or more, I was real to the rap conspiracy stuff. And I gotta admit, man, when this first came out, I thought they were just blowing smoke.
Right.
Yo, so we was just talking about that. We were saying that how you call it, the myth was that black people can't catch coronavirus. Did you believe that?
Nah. If anything, it's one of the weapons used against us and several others that
right.
to control and all that.
Yeah, to keep us out of here, man. I think, like I was telling Shana, I know the history of this country, and this country has a very bad history of putting things out and then trying to come back on the back end and make it seem like they got the solution.
Yeah.
So here it is. Here it is. We're worrying about, these low income areas being hit. But then we got somebody, Bill Gates, who's not even a doctor, will come with a fucking vaccine.
Yeah.
You don't even you're not even a licensed physician, nigga. You probably can't even make a cheese sandwich. You want to give me some fucking vaccine?
And just to add on to what both of y'all were saying, especially with this Bill Gates thing, did you ever watch the TED Talk?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
and he named it in 2017.
Yeah.
We're gonna set up a pandemic
Yeah.
called coronavirus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yo, you see? Well, I mean, you for local policy, you far away from it, Zane, so you probably you haven't heard of it. But did you hear Alexander Ocasio-Cortez is talking about a reparations fund for how you call it, for people that's been victimized by COVID-19?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Really?
Wow. I didn't hear that. That's
Shit
dope.
just
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
expanding to a whole nother level.
Yeah,
Yo, before you get out of here, let me ask you one last question. This Saturday,
I could talk all day, man.
this Saturday, 9:00, RZA versus Premier. Who you got and why?
Damn.
Think hard, brother. Think hard, bro.
I would say Premo.
There you go. See, good man.
Everybody with why? Why Premo?
You want to know why?
Yeah.
Premo got the Swiss Beats effect. I mean, not Premo. RZA got the Swiss Beats effect.
What's that?
What's that?
So soon as you hear the first 4 seconds, you know it's that beat from that particular person.
Right.
Premo at the same time, yeah, he does that, but Premo has more of a diversified portfolio.
That's what I was saying too. But yo, here's the thing. How do you know off the rip when it's a Premier beat? What's Premier's distinct thing that you know, like, your Premier did this? There you go. There you go.
And then the beat drop.
Yeah.
Once that beat drop, it's like, wow, did he put that together?
Yeah, crazy.
What do y'all think was Premo's, like, the two most favorite beats that Premo did?
My pick is Mass Appeal.
That's hard. Mass Appeal's hard.
Mass Appeal and Just to Get a Rep.
Just to get a rap. I'm gonna go with.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got two, but
I'm a big Gangstar
Above
fan,
the Clouds.
Ooh.
Above the Clouds. Above the Clouds. And still, when you hear it to this day, it make you want to assault somebody. New York State of Mind.
See that?
So you hear that drum come in, and you hear.
Oh man.
Yeah.
For some reason, I forgot Premo did that.
Yeah. And then of course Dwick.
And of course Dwick. Everyone remembers Dwick.
Dwick. But I mean, how you call it? And then so give me. While you saying that, give me two distinctive Premier joint. Not Premier, RZA joints. Two RZA joints that. One, verbal intercourse.
Cream.
Yeah, verbal intercourse.
Cream, of course.
And I'm going to tell you, it's another joint that when I first heard it, I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? But then I listened to it, I was like, oh, this shit crazy. Glaciers of Ice.
Yeah.
Glaciers of Ice.
Yeah. What about Fourth Chamber on Liquid Swords?
Ooh.
Yeah.
What that old rock and roll beat?
Ooh.
Yeah. Or even what was the single on Jizza joint? Liquid what was it? They be crying from the bar, running off shot. Cold World. Mean. But yo, I'm how you call? I'm gonna let you go. I'll holler at you later. Thanks for calling in.
All right, man. Hey, definitely appreciate y'all having me on there, man.
All right, good,
man.
bro. Appreciate meeting you, man.
Later, Zay.
One love.
All right, baby.
Got my man Jack Frost on the line. You there, Frost?
Yes, my brother right here.
What's good, man? How you doing?
Regular shit. You already know what it is.
Just hanging in there. So, yo, first, tell people where you from.
Right, Jack Frost BBN Network. You might know about me. I'm Bronx, all the way, Bronx Broadcasting Network. Grew up in the X, love it here. Really don't want to move, but, you know.
So we got availability in Dansbury, bro. We got availability, brother. We trying to save all our Bronx nights, man. They about to shut New York down, kid.
That's a whole fact. Don't let nobody lie to you.
Yo, so because now I'm up in Connecticut, every now and then I still venture down to the Bronx, but I'm not down to the Bronx like you. Because you're down in the Bronx, let me ask you this. So, do you feel that people are actually adhering to what the public outcry is to stay home and actually staying home or not?
I think that we need to take it more seriously.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
looking at it like this. Obviously, something is going on. I'm seeing video footage of deers, like, dying in the middle of the street and all type of other, like, weird things that, natural current. Well, I don't know if it's natural or unnatural or man-made occurrences that's happening that we can't actually quantify. So I think that we should be on our P's and Q's, and we need to be observing what's going on around us, our surroundings.
That's right.
And I think that too often, us as, especially in New York City, like just New York City in general, we kind of think we're the toughest and nothing can stop us. And if we got enough New Yorkers in one place, we can take anybody. And we need to get rid of that mentality. That whole mentality is not helping right now. One of the things that people don't realize is, as far as with this epidemic, this pandemic, it's affecting our communities, the minority communities, more than any other community.
Yeah, we was just talking about that.
Yeah, so, and a lot of that might be due to the fact that you still got people out there trying to go to parties. You got people having, like back in, like, during when beer was illegal. I don't know why I couldn't. When beer and alcohol was illegal.
Prohibition,
there you go, my brother. You know how they used to have them bars and everything?
Speakeasies and shit like that.
Them little lounges.
You pull the handle and the wall goes around in the
Yeah.
some shit. Yeah, so people are doing that. People are throwing parties in basements and everything. We're wondering why we have so many, a greater number of us are falling victim or being counted as part of the number of people that's dying due to this pandemic.
And that's what I was saying to Shannon, man. The invincibility mindset of people just thinking, man, fuck the government, man. They'll be telling me so much bullshit. I'm going to work, son. Fuck that. I need this paper right now. Fuck y'all. And they going.
But also on the same token, though, like you're right. That's not the mindset that we should have. But on the same token, you also have to understand, especially in New York City, there's a lot of people, there's a large contingency of individuals that live check to check.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
An NBA basketball player just said the other day that there's at least 150 NBA
players that's fucked up. That's fucked up. Yeah, they don't have the bread that they just spent and tricked off their money. Yeah.
That's a fact because as obviously you guys know, one of the most important things that a person could be is economically responsible, fiscally responsible with
But
their
I
own
tell
money.
you,
We're not taught these skills.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, we're not really, I remember being in elementary school, and they were actually teaching us these skills in elementary school. I'm pretty sure they don't do that anymore.
Now, home economics out the window. I asked my son, I was like, yo, they still do home ec? He was like, home ec? And home ec, I remember when I was younger, home ec was they teach you how to make like a simple meal, teach you how to do the laundry. When teenage pregnancy became popular, they was teaching people basically how to care for a kid. They may teach you how to balance a checkbook, but they wasn't really getting in depth about savings and none of that shit.
And handling money has always been voodoo to us, son.
Mm-hmm.
We do not know how to handle money, son.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of us don't have bank accounts, don't have simple bank accounts or checking accounts.
Niggas gonna get bank accounts now for that stimulus money.
That's a fact. When I was in elementary school, in second and third grade, third and fourth grade, they were actually teaching us how to do the stock market. They were teaching us how to balance checkbooks. And shout out to PS59 in the Bronx or Bathgate Ave.
I shout out Bathgate now.
Oh man.
That's a fact. They would teach because it is still a very, very small school. And I think that I was just fortunate to go there because since the school was smaller, the teachers had more time to deal with the actual students.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.
They was actually teaching that in school when I went to school. I don't think they teach that anymore to children.
No, they don't, bro. They got this new thing. What is it called? Colombian math. That's some fucked up math. They got some shit where, my ex-girl is like, yo, Rob, you got to come and see what they got kids counting blocks and the old way of doing mathematics or multiplication is not the same. You got to write it out. You got to show this design. I'm like, yeah, they want to distract the kids from using their natural talents and their natural ability to be caught up in a system of doing shit that don't need to be done.
Some shit that ain't never gonna show up on your paycheck.
Never show up on there when they act like you said. You can show them how to balance a checkbook. You can show them how to make a fucking pot of rice.
Yeah.
Something.
Practical skills.
Easy shit.
Yo, so
Albert Einstein said that if you can't explain something to a 2-year-old, then or to a 4-year-old, part of me, then you don't know it well enough to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
But do you think that people, because we were just talking and I was saying to Rob, I'm like, yo, a couple of things. One, when you talking about and living in the city, like for us in the suburbs, it's easier to stay home. You got vast amount of space. You live in the city and you living in 500 square feet, it's a little bit more difficult. And if you need to be out working to make ends meet, or you're a frontline worker and you need to pay, your rent or whatever it is, it ain't that necessarily easy to listen to somebody be like, yo, stay your ass home. What you think about that?
No, you're 100% right. Like what I just mentioned a minute ago, a lot of people live check to check. So just that problem right there is created. That means that you can't even imagine staying home, in quarantining for 2 weeks. How are you gonna quarantine for 2 weeks?
Right.
Yeah.
When you need bread tonight.
Yeah.
I gotta go get bread tonight.
Now I'm gonna fuck you up with this or whatever. Like with the $1,200, to me, what they should have did is they should have looked at what the cost of living was, right? Because $1,200 down in South Carolina go a lot further than $1,200 in New York City. And in New York City, $1,200 you may be able to pay your studio rent for 1 month.
Right.
That's a fact. I think, okay, so as far as, so that whole $1,200 stimulus check stuff, that's all blindfold. That's all smoke and mirrors, right? Because that whatever that amounts to is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to the money that they're going to even be spending on a national defense or whatever the case might be right now, or the money that they're going to be spending putting towards weapons that's not even going to be made. Because you got to understand, when they put money towards national defense, they'll put in an order. So they'll put in an order for like, okay, we want to spend $1 billion on this thing right here. That thing that they're putting $1 billion in for, it's not even going to be tangible for a couple of years.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if we be fools to believe that 2.2 trillion or whatever it was, that shit gonna trickle down to the people. That ain't touching the masses. You can forget about that.
You might get $100, man. You might get $100, $50.
Yo, so before I let you go, one last thing. Saturday, 9:00, RZA vs. Premier. Who you got and why?
Okay, so I see something that RZA put up. RZA said he got some unreleased ODB.
ODB?
He got some unreleased, pardon me?
Oh, unreleased ODB, you said?
Yeah, he has some unreleased ODB. That's what he said. So that's what he plans on breaking out with. I'm scary on that. I'm going to tell you why. When ODB first came out, I thought he was trash. And then I started listening to him. And I was like, the flow and everything is kind of dope. This is different, and I was not ready. That was it. When he first came out, the first time I heard that,
Yeah. It had to grow on you.
Ready. And then it grew on me, and I realized, you know what? Like his whole style and everything is so dope. And I really started to. So I would hate for him to release something from ODB that is brand new and don't nobody have. And then, but it still, it don't hit us yet.
Right.
It's just something that we would have needed to hear a couple of times in order for us our spirit to be able to enjoy it.
Right.
So, with that being said, DJ Premier has done a lot of great things. Love Wu-Tang, but DJ Premier has done a lot of great things, and I don't think that there's many music producers that could go up against Premier.
Two favorite Premier tracks.
I can't even think of any off the top of my head.
Right, just give it to two real quick. What's on the top? Right on the cut.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Ooh.
Unbelievable.
Right.
Unbelievable. Remember the Unbelievable for Biggie.
I'm going to explain why I can't think of any off the top of my head. Because you got to remember, this was in the 90s.
Yeah.
In the 90s, Premier was touching everybody's shit.
I got to throw back for you just to get a rep.
No, I love Get a Rep, but if you can say Unbelievable or Just to Get a Rep, the Unbelievable is probably one of
Kicking the Door.
Mass Appeal,
yeah.
Every track, there's nothing you can say. DJ Premier has not missed.
Not at all, son.
I don't think RZA has missed.
He might have missed a couple of Takao albums.
You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
It's close. It's definitely close.
Yeah, Premo has never missed,
I
yo.
think that RZA has missed a couple of times. There's a couple of things, like, first of all, I love RZA, don't get me wrong, but some of the stuff that he's doing with these freaking Kung Fu flicks, I'm like, what?
Yeah, he's in Wuhan, China himself.
Yo, plug your show real quick.
Yo, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing? This is Jack Frost from the BBN Network. You should come tune in with us 9:20 in the morning coffee, and 9 o'clock at night for tonight's show with Jack Frost on the BBN Network YouTube. Come in there. I'm letting you know right now, though. If you come in and you talking crazy, you're gonna get hit with your bags, homie.
Easy.
Appreciate you, yo.
All right, good brother.
Appreciate y'all. Later.
All right, later, man.
Peace.
Yeah, so, I mean, you heard it from Maryland, from the Bronx.
Maryland,
you
from
know.
the Bronx. I mean, if we were to catch somebody else, maybe the next time I'll be able to catch. My cousin lives out in Seattle.
Yeah.
One of the places is hardest hit.
Yeah.
Out in Seattle, I get him to call and
Yeah.
get to chop it up with him, man.
And Seattle got like a huge Asian population as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which
And
is
he says that they get to the point where they gonna mandatory vaccinate niggas, like pull niggas over to.
take that. Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I think that's coming. I was looking at listening
Certain
to
governors
podcasts
in certain counties is already
off the rip.
soon as
saying you
it's
gotta
on
get-
the market, bring it here.
Yeah.
All of our
That's what Cuomo said though. Cuomo was like, "Yo, in order for New York to open back up, that they everybody gotta get tested." You know how many tests that's like 9-10 million right there tests.
that's not 10 million people on paper, nigga.
That's a fact. Yeah.
There's not 10 million people on paper. There's more people not on paper living in New York. And the cracks and crevices of the 5 boroughs between the Dominican community or the Latino community, the Caribbean community, or the African community, or the Indonesian community, the Asian community. There's people over here that been here who've never went and got a green card, never went and got their citizenship. They've just been living under the radar because they can. This is New York.
You know, I mean, I guess maybe next episode we could tackle it. Whoever isn't interested in all of this coincides with the census.
How about that?
Right? Everything coincides with the census to get the
Because
heck
now
out.
you got to put the census out so you know how many people it is.
Actually, yeah. So his conclusion.
This might help with this. Not that I'm pro immigration or anti immigration, but because of the alarm effects in immigration in the last couple of years, people are talking about it. I'm sure this.